Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are taking a look at the behind the scenes process of my new short film, Where You Are. Yep, it's been a couple months, a new film is out, and that means I'm going to sit here and ramble to you. So let me quickly break down the structure of today's video. So as always, we're going to have a very brief discussion about chapter 2. Yet again, just like the last part, I can't really talk in depth about it because the cool thing about chapter 2 is the fact that you're finding the story out as they release. So if I start giving you details, then kind of ruins the whole point. But I will also be going into the idea of why I picked Where You Are and why I picked it to be in the second slot of chapter 2. I just think that'll be a nice interesting discussion to have, to add into the chapter 3 bits to make them just a little bit longer and to give you a little bit more insight on why Where You Are was picked. Then after that, we're going to be going into pre-production, talking about where the film came from, how it came to be, what scenes came first, and all kinds of other little behind-the-scenes stuff like that. That'll be quite interesting. And then finally, we'll be talking about the scene by scene, breaking down each and every single one of them and showing the bloopers at the end. By the way, if you yourself don't want to watch this whole video, because I wouldn't, so why should you? There is timestamps on this video, so you can go watch the bits that you want to see. If you're only interested in the bloopers, you can see them. If you're interested in the breakdowns, you can see them. Or if you want to see the bloopers of scene 5 and the breakdown of scene 11, then go ahead. I don't know why you do that, but the option's there. So anyway, let's just jump right into the video and stop wasting time. Let's start off with chapter 2, part 2 of 5. So, starting off with chapter 2's discussion, let's talk about the music video itself. Firstly, this time round I used inertia. I've planned out each of the single parts of this, and firstly, straight away, inertia talks about being stuck in one place. The idea of feeling like you're supposed to be moving when you are stuck in one place. And keep in mind what part 1 was talking about. Part 1 had this clear theme of running away from responsibilities, running away from who you are, and inertia is talking about being stuck in one place. I think you're starting to see where it's coming from now and how they're following up from each other. And also, all of these clips on that whiteboard, all of the different names for different films, well, those are all real. Those are all cancelled scripts at one point in time. If you watch some of the other behind the scenes videos, you would recognise some of them. And Flowers and Love Story were actually quite interesting to Where You Are's context, which I'm going to get into very, very shortly. In fact, why don't I talk about it right now? I know, that little discussion was very, very short. It's because if I give any major bits of information, you're going to kind of figure out the story already, and that's kind of the fun part, is kind of learning the story as it goes along, because the ending is really fun. But I'm not going to spoil any of it, and I'm just going to keep it completely unknown and give you what I've told you. Anyway, let's talk about why Where You Are was picked for chapter 2. The main reason why Where You Are was picked for chapter 2, and also why Love Story and Flowers were kind of shown in the teaser trailer, is because Where You Are is actually an amalgamation of all the kind of romance stories put together. If you're very new to my channel, what you would know if you were longer term would know that some of my older, most popular films at the time were romance-based stories. Things like It'll Be Okay and Alone were mostly based around relationships and were kind of my forefront of my kind of storytelling. And so Where You Are is a bit of a celebration of that, of kind of bringing those stories together and talking about them. Whereas, so the main thing about Where You Are is that I was able to take multiple elements from Flowers, from Love Story, from multiple other stories that got cancelled, and put them into this film. The ending of Where You Are is basically ripped straight from Flowers, and the kind of whole idea and showing of this decaying relationship was stolen from Love Story. So as you're seeing, is multiple different elements coming together. So I thought that Where You Are, as a kind of send-off to all the romance films, because this is the final one, I'm afraid, I would kind of use the best one that kind of encapsulated them all together. Now the big question is, so that was the main Love Story thing, yeah, fair enough. Why the second part? Why was it not the first film of chapter 2, or why was it not left until later on? Seems a little bit weird to follow Where You Are with cuts and bruises of all things. Why was that? Well, this is mainly because of Where You Are's style. Where You Are is expressionistic. I'll get into kind of exploring and developing that in later part of the video. But just know, the film is expressionistic. It's very unique in the way that I've tried to portray the story. And so I thought that was the perfect way of making part 2, because when making chapter 2, I was like, okay, we're going to start with a big action film. We're really going to set off this new era with a bang. However, I can't just keep making bigger and bigger films. It's just going to slowly drive me insane. I've still got 2 massive films planned for chapter 2, but they need to come later on. They can't come right now. And making them back to back was just going to end up destroying me mentally. So instead, I decided, let's go for a smaller film. But then all of a sudden that might cause people to no longer be interested. You have a big action film, and then all of a sudden you do a kind of boring film. So I was like, okay, what do we do in that sense? Let's make a film that is extremely unique. Where You Are, the kind of style and the way we went about making the film is really hard to replicate and is nothing like any of my other previous projects. So whereas Where You Are stands out on its own as being quite crazy and ambitious with expressionism, Cuts and Bruises is quite big with the action. That then meant it can kind of stick out on its own and not need to kind of live up to the big expectations. And then that also started to go towards the rest of Chapter 2, making the films feel so unique that they don't need to be as big as Cuts and Bruises. And so Where You Are was basically put at part 2 because I just thought it was the perfect way to segue on and say goodbye to everything that came before. Now, with that long-ass talk about Chapter 2, I think it's about time we talk about the pre-production. We're going to be talking about where You Are originated from, what kind of elements came together to make the story a real thing, and then also where all the ideas started to evolve from as well. So, you know what? Let's jump right into it. Alright, so pre-production. Where did Where You Are come from? Okay, that sounded weird. Where You Are started a few years ago, and I was a part of a relationship and I got cheated on. Now, whilst obviously naturally sadness and anger came across me, the number one thing that I realised was the fact that I felt empathy more, and that was quite interesting because I was like, this is a very weird kind of feeling and I didn't know how to feel, just like right now how I don't know how to kind of describe it. I didn't know really what I was feeling, but I knew that that complication of emotions could work really well in a film concept, especially to help those who are going through it, which is usually what these kind of message and lessons kind of films really do. They're designed to help those who have been through it. So I knew that would be quite an interesting way of taking a film. And then from that onwards, I didn't do anything because I couldn't think of a film concept. And I remained like that until literally about about a year ago, where I finished college and I came across this couple that were almost conjoined by the hips. And while that's great, and I do hope if they're watching this that you guys are still together, the main thing that hit me was, what if they were to break up? They would almost feel lost. And then at that point, it hit me. Feeling lost after a breakup in a relationship, not knowing who you are once the relationship is over, combining that with the story from before, that is Where You Are's concept. And this was also around the time where I was wanting to give up filmmaking. Alone was going to be my final film. Upon kind of making it and getting into it and wanted to make more films again, Where You Are was the front runner. Where You Are was the new film that almost gave me new life, because originally I was in kind of the mindset of everything I make that is good is old. It's stuff I made years ago. But Where You Are was the first new one. It was the first new one that gave me hope that this is really my passion and this is what I want to do. At that point, I started to make a scene by scene where the two main factors started to come to fruition. The main one being the dance. The dance scene was the first ever scene for Where You Are, and the second I had that down on paper, I knew that making a story revolving around this scene is the way to go forward with Where You Are. Then I did what I told you earlier about stealing some bits from Flowers and Love Story. That then made the beginning and end, and then at that point, I got our core 4 characters, and we started to explore a style called expressionism. If you don't know, I've kind of mentioned this in the Evolution of Horror, if you've watched that video. I know, very niche reference, but expressionism is a style revolving around the externalization of the inner emotions. From that point, I love what theatre does with expressionism. It is so dynamic and so different compared to most things that you would see. But I'm going to say this right now, you can fight me in the comments if you want. Expressionism in films is completely underutilized. It's usually used only for mise-en-scène, which is just kind of, it's nice, it's a nice little reference and nice way to take meaning for film studies, but when it comes to actually enjoying a film that is expressionist, you can't even tell unless you apply it. So what I did was turn this film into a theatre expressionist style, where instead of just the background being expressionist, all of a sudden a bunch of scenes are expressionist. Within scene 1, you see inside Nick's mind, how he on the outside is numb, but on the inside is screaming and crying in pain. You have scenes where he imagines beating up the person that he was really angry against. You have the bit where he is reimagining what happened that night and how it's through a music video and how it's through his own delusion mind of what it's like. Obviously, I'm going to dive into all these scenes really, but just kind of giving a broad explanation here. And the dance scene being an exact externalization of him finally letting go and him finding himself. That was the forefront of why Where You Are stuck out so much to me and why I knew it had to be the next film and why I knew it had a perfect spot here. Alright, so the final part of pre-production was the characters. Yes, I developed them last, the expressionism came first. But obviously Nick, naturally, I had to develop him through kind of using my own experiences and stuff like that. But what the most interesting part that a lot of people don't actually know is that Yasmin wasn't originally part of the film. Originally it was only going to be Nick, Tommy and Cairo. There wasn't actually going to be a Yasmin until I was like, okay, it's about time that we get one of these films and finally get a lead actor, because after all, we have things like It'll Be Okay that, well, I was going to do a similar thing where they're kind of mentioned off screen and that's basically it, but I thought, let's bring her in and let's actually develop her, let's see what it's like from her perspective in all this. And then that then inspired, what if I do it from all 4 of their perspectives? So we brought in Cairo and gave him his own individual scenes. So scenes 6 and 7, you basically follow him throughout his day as he finds out that he's been involved in all this, and then you kind of see how he thinks about it all. And then finally, Tommy was probably the funnest one. I'm definitely going to talk a lot about his character and how Logan betrayed him, because Tommy is a very interesting one, how he comes off as he really is such a good friend to Nick, but he just gets sick and tired of constantly being relied on, and it is honestly one of my favorite parts of the film. I know a lot of people like the dance and stuff. My favorite is Tommy. I'm sorry, his stuff is so good. But that's basically most of the pre-production stage. Obviously there was the trailers and stuff like that, which as you could tell for teaser trailer 1, it was just kind of taking the general story that we have spread throughout the film and just kind of slam it into a little thing, bring some expressionism, and that's it. And the trailer itself kind of talks about the whole idea of finding your identity once again, which is obviously a big part of the storytelling for this film. But I think that I've covered everything, all the intentions and stuff of where you are. Hopefully that was enjoyable. But let's get to the interesting part. Let's talk about scene 1, Happily Ever After. Alright, so scene 1 is one of the longest scenes in the film, so let's just go right into it. We start off with Nick and Yasmin. We get a nice idea of what their relationship is like. When coming to filming this stuff, I wanted to make some sort of cliche kind of romance moments, because what I wanted to do is actually give an almost audience incline. Because of the style, when rewatching the film, it almost comes off as if this is one of the expressionist scenes. You don't really know whether or not this is real. Is this how their relationship actually was, or is it how Nick views it in the future? And honestly, I'm not going to give you the answer to that. I like the idea that you can kind of put your own meaning to it, and I think that's just a nice moment of just kind of letting you decide what the story is about. And so we have a song called Beyond playing, almost like it's beyond his imagination. A nice little moment, and also, I know we're only kind of showing like 3 or 4 different memories. I could have done more with Mel, we could have went around and got more stuff done, but the thing is, I like the idea that I realised when looking back on memories of my previous partners that you only remember a select amount. So I was like, if we're really pulling on this whole memories idea, let's only have a select amount. And then after that, we go into the second segment of this scene. This is where the scene gets really ambitious. I wanted to try and show the rise and fall of a relationship all within one scene, so you have a good idea when going into scene 2 what actually happened. And yes, the timeline does get a little bit confusing because technically this happens after scene 2 despite seeing it before. Don't worry, I'll give an explanation just in case anyone was confused when watching it. But we see Nick and the song Paralyzed playing, where we see a direct contrast between what's going on in real life with him just staring into the distance, no emotion whatsoever, contrasted with the inner emotions of him in the abyss where he's actually feeling the pain, kind of giving the idea that he is feeling pain on the inside but he doesn't show it on the outside. This then leads into a moment with Tommy and Yasmin where he sees Yasmin with Tommy and Tommy tells him to basically back off. We also have the kind of memory frame, photo frame thing with Yasmin. This becomes quite a big part that comes back later on, and I actually wish I included it more in other scenes because it's quite well established here and then just disappears into scene 11. Myself personally, I think I should have put it more in the film. But we get this little moment where it's him spinning, the camera spins around him, Tommy tells him to leave, we have multiple different images using expressionism, and then he smashes that thing, Tommy and him leaves, and then we have a moment of him drowning in his own thoughts. Damn, that was a lot. Overall, scene 1 is a very long and somewhat confusing scene. I think that if you literally blink for a second, you all of a sudden miss a major part of the scene. But overall, one of my favourite scenes. I really enjoyed Paralyzed and kind of bringing in this rap idea. The second I was listening to the song, I was like, this is nice and atmospheric. And then that rap bit came in, and I knew that this was perfect for Where You Are, to have a direct showcase of Where You Are's style. Just straight away saying, this is what this film does, and this is going to be its style going forward. And I think that's everything. Not a lot I can really say, but what I will say is there's some really funny bloopers, so here they are now. The cameraman needs to have fun too. Camera woman. Go on, Emmy.
Yeah, no, that was like nearly right.
Just like swinging along with her.
This is where I fall off or fall into the river.
This is why I tell you I've been filming this whole thing.
Oh. That's what you mean by rope burns. Is it?
I can't feel my fucking hands in it. It's a wee bit chilly. Oh my god. Oh, cyclists need to hit up my hands. I'm not made for running, but I still put it on all my fucking films. Hello.
Okay, here we go. So if we do this, there we go.
It's just, now it looks like,
Hey! And then we just kind of vlog and we're like, hey, this is my vlog.
behind the scenes.
And then we just I feel like fucking Logan Paul. Look
at us. Relationship, very real.
Very real.
Very
real
Watch out,
documentary. Please don't beat me up.
Oh! Kai Snap level 10 Riz. Yat, Skibby Toilet. Oh, would you rather climb a tree or a cliff? No, wait, a mountain. Oh, silly me. I was actually out the other day and we were watching this production and they go, hypothetical stress is not the one. Would you say... I was gonna ask, would you say you're more of a Sigma wolf or an alpha leader, or are you like a beta cut?
Just talk it through.
What you... No.
I haven't talked to her since that day. I literally told her to leave. I might as well just talk to her.
No, because what are you going to get out of it? No, we're not doing this.
But if we just talk it out. She's there on her own. The poor thing's probably so...
No, I'll sort this out. Oh, slut!
God, I can't get over that. Oi, slut line. That caught me off guard and I couldn't stop laughing for a very long period of time. I didn't expect all these bloopers to be that good, and there will be, just warning you now, there will be some scenes that don't have any bloopers. I haven't actually been through a lot of the blooper stuff for the dance stuff, so I'll see whether or not there's enough for bloopers and whether or not I compile it, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, love scene 1's bloopers, and there's quite a few for scene 3, scene 4 and scene 5 as well, especially scene 5, look out for that one. But anyway, we're getting a bit ahead. Let's talk about scene 2, Withering Hearts. Alright, scene 2, Withering Hearts. So, immediately we start off with Nick walking inside the room and then grabbing his iPad. This is actually one of many visual homages to both Alone and It'll Be Okay, because Where You Are is the modern interpretation of what those films could and would have and should have been. I was like, it would be nice to kind of throw a few little references in there, so that's one of them. And then we see Yasmin come in, and straight away, I go right into the argument. I decided when writing that we've already got an idea of what's going on between them, so there's no point in waiting, so I got their dialogue to kind of start up. The argument starts away straight away, and you kind of get the idea that Nick knows something. At the moment, the audience doesn't, and I kind of like that idea. I like that we slowly find pieces. We see the way he's reacted, the way that he took his anger out on Yasmin, and then we finally figure out what happens to them in scene 3. Obviously, we'll get to that soon. But one thing you'll notice about this scene is that Yasmin is now in a blue jumper, contrasting to her predominantly somewhat pink outfit from scene 1. That is, I've decided to follow the traditions of normal expressionism as well, through characters' coloured costumes representing their inner emotions. I'll talk a little bit about Nick and Tom in the next scene because they're both together and they come together quickly, but here I'm going to say about Yasmin is the blue represents regret. It's about how she regrets what she's done deep down, despite the fact that she somewhat enjoys and liked what happened between her and Cairo and is starting to go in that direction, but there's still a level of regret, and also that blue is also in her costume in scene 1. It's a nice little detail. In terms of scene 2, there is not a whole lot to say now because that's kind of the whole general point. It's a very kind of basic to point thing, but one good thing to mention is that this is Mel's first scene in the film, and she did a brilliant job. I'll talk a lot about the actors because they have done an absolutely tremendous job here. It is amazing what they have accomplished with this film, so I'm going to talk about each of them in their own individual scenes, and I'll be talking about Yasmin and Mel specifically in scene 4. But right now, Mel's first time on did a brilliant job, and I'm going to show you some of the bloopers. Most of it is us messing up on our lines because in this scene you'll notice there's a lot of emotions, there are paragraphs, and it gets quite hard to keep an eye on all of it. So yeah, here's the bloopers to scene 2.
Baby, how's your day been?
1, go.
How's your day been?
Decent.
Sorry, can we...
Wait,
I want to see if we can get 2 shots.
go back where you were. Go back to where you were, Jay. And
Jay,
start
go
again.
back to where you were.
Blah 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 blah.
Blah!
Blah.
This is...
1, go. What?
Nick, that... Sorry, I'm
1, go. What?
Nick, you don't talk to me the way you used to. It's like talking to a brick wall. There were so many times when I needed you and you weren't there.
So was.
Ooh, is that so
1, go. What?
Nick, you don't talk to me the way you used to. It's like talking to a brick wall. There were so many times when I needed you, but you weren't there.
What? Fuck. Go. What?
Nick, you don't talk to me the way you used to. It's like talking to a brick wall. I've already forgotten it. Overthink again.
It's because we're different. You don't talk to me the way you used to. I can't remember when. Oh fuck.
Or you would overthink again.
It's because we're different. We don't have those moments where we sit down and just have a good time. I can't remember. Fuck. And there you go, those are the bloopers for scene 2. Obviously, the whole conversation is within just a confined space, so there's only so many bloopers you can get out of that. So that's all I had. I hope you found them funny, because we did anyway. We laughed at them. So yeah, there's the scene 2 bloopers, and I think it's about time we move on to scene 3, and that one has one hell of a lot of bloopers. Right, so let's get started on scene 3. Starting up straight away, we have a knocking on the door. This is actually one of the beginning of what I like to call mirroring. I'm going to call this out a little bit more in the rest of the film, but right now, just know that this is something that, if you've watched the film, you would know that this is something that happens quite a lot. But Tommy knocks on Nick's door, and they end up leaving, and they go to a riverside, a nice little calm, atmospheric place, and they just share a beer. Tommy pulls out a cigarette. Just I added those things into the script to hopefully make the scene feel a bit more casual and a bit more just like friends kind of hanging out and just having a nice down-to-earth conversation. I'm also starting to notice I've done this a lot in my films, where scene 3 is 2 characters talking about their feelings at night. I don't know why this keeps happening. I think I might want to try and stop this, because it's getting repetitive at this point. But we get a little bit of dialogue where we kind of see what Nick feels like and the way that Tommy kind of reacts, and we get a little glimpse into his character. Constant quips, trying to make light of little jokes and stuff like that, which is one of my favourite things about Tommy's character. But after this, we then go into what actually happened, the real Untold parable, being the flashback sequence where I use the music for Hurtless. Myself personally, the way that I've kind of viewed this scene and created it was that, one, when we relate to songs, we somewhat change the reality of what actually happened. Just because you relate to a song, that's great and all, but we end up kind of remembering things differently. Almost like this music video and song is directly calling out what we actually went through, despite it actually having some more inaccuracies. This is why within the scene you see a recreation of scene 2. However, the scene is playing out completely differently, with Yasmin shouting a lot more and being a lot more sporadic, with Nick trying to avoid it. It's showing how in his mind he has made up this reality when really that did not happen. And it also gets you questioning as an audience member, is what we are being seen right now actually real? If the scene 2 segment that Nick is portraying, if that is fake, what's to say that everything else is actually real? The arguing, did they actually argue like that? Was Yasmin and Cairo actually hanging out like this, or was he just seeing something else and he interpreted it differently? There's many different questions you can bring to this, and I just think it's a nice little moment to bring in the expressionism. And it also, one thing throughout when writing the script, I really wanted to balance it out. Have some dialogue, but have some expressionism, dialogue and expressionism, to balance out the film and feel like it wasn't wavering in on either one of them. And then after that, we cut back over to Tom and Nick kind of talking about the situation, where we actually start to see more of the emotions here. We start to see that Nick is actually angry at Cairo, and it starts to get introduced here. And we also see a slight distaste towards Yasmin on Tom's part of view, which both scene 4 and scene 5 actually elaborate on these emotions. And then eventually they decide time to pack it up and they leave, and we get a little moment with Nick talking about how Cairo broke what could have been fixed. Hope you like that explanation, because I've got a little bit more coming. Time to talk about the chronological timeline of these 3 scenes. Obviously, the timeline's all messed up. I did that to kind of engage you into the film, to kind of think, oh, we see this, we see that, what bit goes where. But now it's about time that I actually tell you, just in case you are confused. So, we start off with scene 1, Nick and Yasmin. That is the first part of this kind of little story. The flashback showcased within scene 3, that's the next part where he finds out what's going on, he gets a little bit angry. And then after that is scene 2 segment, where he he confronts her about the whole situation. And then finally, the second half of scene 1, where we witness what's going on with him emotionally. And then finally, scene 3 obviously plays out as the rest of the canonical timeline. We're then completely introduced to everything, and we can continue on with scene 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. God. One more thing to explain. I swear to God, these exposures are getting longer and longer. One of these days, I'm just not gonna get. But let's talk about Nick and Tommy's costume. So the main thing going with Nick is black and white. I did this because it is a mix. He doesn't know how to feel. And I know one thing that people might say, if this is how he feels, why does he have this same costume within scene 1 when he's supposed to be all happy and lovey? Well, that's because within scene 9, you kind of hear this kind of insecurity within him, that he just can't love right, and if everything with Yasmin isn't right, then he simply can't love at all. I think the way that I've kind of developed Nick myself is this idea that he's always had this insecurity within him. Thus, even in the lovey scenes, he still wears the white and black tunic type of thing. Don't know what you'd actually call it. Flannel. They're called flannels. Yes, they are. And with Tommy, I originally was going to go with a purpley colour because it could be like a nice blend of all the other colours, blue, pink, and stuff like that. But one, it just felt like random blurges of colours at that point and just felt a little bit unrealistic. And also because purple means something completely different. And I'll get to that later within scene, the dance scene. So I decided instead, let's give him black and white. Even though he does know how to feel, I like the idea that he reflects off of Nick, because in the true sense of this film, he is Nick's friend and he's there for him. Alright. Whew, that is a lot to talk about. Anyway, that is it. We are finally done. It's about time I show you the bloopers. I'm going to show you the bloopers. But one thing I'll quickly mention is in the first set of bloopers, you're going to notice a setting that you're not really familiar with. That is because originally scene 3 was supposed to take place there. But for some reason, there were protests and just so many people at such a weird time of the night. And I was like, look, we're not doing this. We then moved to another segment. We even added a bit of extra dialogue to segue into it. And the conversations you're about to hear is, I guess, scrap dialogue that you never got to see. That's quite interesting, isn't it? And yeah. And also, fun little fact before we move on is scene 3 would have been 12 minutes long had I not cut that moment. 12 minutes of just this supposed to be slowed down, nice emotional scene where we learn about the background. It doesn't need to be 12 minutes. In fact, there's another scene that also got part of its beginning cut out. I think it might be showcased in scene 4, but I will talk about that in scene 4 segment. Anyway, getting ahead of myself again, let me show you the scene 3 bloopers. Put in the background is fine.
It's recording, by the way.
Is it recording? Okay, we'll go. It's already. Oh my god! Make sure to get my good side.
Oh yeah, which
I'm gonna do Logan now.
Which side is that?
He's learning.
I'm gonna become one of the Chads now. This is still going.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then I was like, then it got all over the counter.
That's not what you say. Oh, that's not my life.
Cocaine, my favourite meds.
And I was like, stop moaning.
Lick it like a sweet. Licky licky.
I hope you know that was recorded.
Did you just record that? All I heard was licky licky like a sweet. Hey, what's the line one more time?
And then he wanted me to put.
And then he wanted to put rice and chicken in a to-go box after he already wanted me to put it on a plate. And it got everywhere.
Jesus Christ. That bitch.
Fuck's sake.
How dare.
I regret pricking this pear.
Yeah.
I can tell. I can see it in the eyes. Like,
You can see.
When she knows she's getting behind the scenes gold, she's just like,
Because it's just a
oh my
glint.
god. I think we're losing our minds already.
Do you think?
We haven't even got the first line done yet.
No.
You're recording, aren't you?
No. Me when I'm a bird.
me went clock.
I'm always doing that.
Ding dong.
I wake up, my alarm goes off at 7, I'm like,
Yeah, so here's the thing, because I wake up and I'm really sad. And
Didn't know where the fuck I was.
and I just wish I didn't wake up, you know, and I
what is that bell doing?
my disappointment every day is growing steadily on my back like a sack of bricks, weighing me down day by day. And the more I carry, the more I sink deeper into the sand.
3, 2, 1, go. Let's just say I was working late back shift.
Organ thing I've ever seen.
No, because I thought it was dying and I was doing. I was like,
Got me with Charlotte laughing. It's gonna go from that, and it's just
Okay.
gonna be kind of a.
Same thing.
don't do that because then you'll get another.
You get more
Okay.
saliva.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
It's been going on for 15 seconds.
Oh.
It's okay, you can't see them in your
Okay,
shot.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, and then
I can't do it. I'm stopping.
or like that or something, and
Yeah.
then pause. Let the world's happiest man in Britain.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to move your head a little bit. We don't really need to worry about it.
Yeah.
It was like.
Yeah, it starts getting away from everything.
But it's like, yeah.
This has been recording.
Oh, fucking cold.
I got that.
Right, pull up.
Pull up
You
to
ready?
the lads.
I need a piss, yeah.
That's on record.
Oh, it's perfect.
Everyone, Logan needs to piss.
It's
Wait
canon.
for that.
Let it be
behind the scenes.
known.
Wait for that bit.
Yeah.
It's canon. Tommy needs a piss.
Piss take.
It's like pouring your heart out. I'm sorry, I really need to piss right now.
Do you mind facing the other way?
Turn around real quick.
The fish won't mind.
Okay. You still got the same angle, yeah?
Yeah, still
Alright.
recording.
God damn it. It actually just went directly. I didn't even know I was above
Bro's
like a drain.
pissed, he's pissed. Let it be known, audience
I
members.
didn't. It poured on me.
Jay weed all over
I
the
did
floor.
not wee.
That cat's okay.
End of
Line,
my
yeah?
line, yeah.
Alright, ready when you are.
Alright. Action in 3, 2, 1, go. And apparently she can't live with herself with what she's done.
Hypothetical stress is not the word.
You evil! 1, go. Yeah. Fuck, what's the beginning of the line?
That's not the line, Nick.
4 just wasn't enough for her. And then he's just a better version of me. And did you see him? He's handsome. I can't fucking do it. I can't do it.
So hot. Oh my
Ever since they said that, immediately I try and get angry and then I just start smiling.
He's handsome,
Oh.
tall, dreamy.
It's like, oh, did you see him in that black
Dear
hair?
diary, kicking his feet. Dear diary.
It's just...
I just knock on her door like 3 beers deep.
You
you!
Fuck you! Ugh! I just lean. Rocco beats me the fuck up. I'm like, whoa. He's like, you punched me something, did I? I don't remember.
I
that.
don't beat women on
I
camera.
don't remember that.
That was that bloke Tom. He's the one that did it.
That was my character. I was doing a still and it didn't really work.
You've been recording, haven't you?
No.
A prick at times, borderline unlovable. Not ready. Not as good as him. But I can't appreciate you. I said I can't tell you how
Fuck
much I
you,
appreciate
man.
you. I can't appreciate
Fuck
you.
you. I
You suck, and I hope you die.
Snookums. Finished all these by myself.
Well, you got the rest to yourself. Did it go in the river?
Oh no.
We can get it.
Oh, that's my boy. That's my boy.
Him littering.
Yeah. Get him.
Look, we rescued it.
It was him. It was
We
him.
got
It
it.
was him. It was him.
I didn't mean to do it.
He did it.
We got it. Have you got
Now
yours?
drink out of it. He's off. Catch him. He's running.
He littered. He's taking the lizard.
He's
he's
killing
le-
the kittens.
He's killing the kitten.
No.
All right.
Right, get back behind the tree.
You guys, hide behind the tree. Numbers when we do the shot. All right.
Yep, we'll do.
3, 2, 1, go.
I'm not here to invite you to anything.
Sorry. It's the
I'm
sass of it.
forcing my
I'm
way
not here
in.
to invite you
I'm not
anywhere.
here. For yeah.
You ate my last chocolate bar. I really want to get after work.
This isn't fair!
Do me actual.
Mel, how do you feel about the filming?
I feel like very positive, very optimistic. It's really good. Yeah.
Jay?
Good. That was nice. Good. How much do you want to get paid for that?
Are you enjoying being
Mel
the
go
music?
shouty, I go. Yay.
Yep. That hypothetical stress is not the answer has now showed up in this behind the scenes video twice. I'll get you next time, Logan, I will, I promise you that. But anyway, let's move on to scene 4, Vetus, Amicus, Remedy. Alright, so time for Vetus Amicus Remedy, which by the way is old friend translated to Latin, so Vetus Amicus means old friend. I did that simply because, let's be honest here, if a scene was called Old Friend Remedy, it would sound a little bit weird, so I thought that was a little bit cooler. Anyway, let's go with the plot synopsis. So we see Yasmin slowly approaching Tommy's room, playing games, and then they start to have a little bit of a conversation going on here. Yasmin obviously concerned about Nick's kind of emotions and how he's taking everything, whilst Tommy is honestly getting not only annoyed that we kind of see from scene 3, annoyed at Yasmin kind of just going around, and it's overall very annoyed at her, but we also see this idea that he's getting sick and tired. He's already getting sick and tired of being people's advice, everyone just kind of walking all over him to kind of get a little bit of friend therapy. And so this leads to an exchange where he starts to blame Yasmin, that everything that Yasmin is telling herself, that she's an awful person, that it's all true, and this eventually culminates into that slap, which is fake. There will be behind the scenes stuff of us talking about doing it for real. It is fake. It is Logan just clapping as it happens. But then that kind of makes Tommy start to realise that this is his friend who is coming here for support. He knows her just as much as he knows Nick, and actually decides to give her some real advice about finally letting go of the burdens that she's holding on to, and to finally be honest with those that she has been dishonest with. It's a nice little moment, and honestly one of my favourite scenes. I just really like it, and the song used here was Little Do You Know. I mainly picked it because it starts off with a female singer, so it almost feels like we are starting to follow and understand Yasmin's story alongside Nick's as well, because she is the main female actor. In fact, I just want to quickly talk about Yasmin and also Mel's performance here, because she absolutely fucking killed it. We've not really had a female lead actor yet. It's mostly been one main character. This time round I wanted 2, and I guess you can also count Cairo and Tom as her lead characters as well. But this time round we actually have a proper lead female character, and Mel absolutely killed it. To tell you this, Yasmin is one of the hardest characters so far. Out of all my films so far, Yasmin is probably the hardest, because not only have you got such a complicated story going on here, we really want to portray the fact that Yasmin is not immediately a bad person. She's done something wrong that we do not condone, but at the same time, we show that it's through her own flawed as a person. She is not a perfect person, and she lets that take the better of her, and she makes mistakes that she is very clearly regretting here. This whole film, when we follow Yasmin, is about everyone kind of making presumptions about her, and this is where we see it most from Mel's performance. That the anxiety is causing these outbursts of anger when really all she wants is to feel peace. Peace that she only has with Cairo, and Mel absolutely killed it. It has been an absolute pleasure working with her. She was able to combine really well with Logan and Rocco in later scenes as well, and overall created such a breathtaking performance. Her scenes genuinely feel like there's a lot of pain and anger going on in there, and I feel like Yasmin as a character wouldn't have worked with anyone else playing her. Overall, Mel, if you're watching this, you did an absolutely brilliant job playing Yasmin. She is a very, very difficult character, and the fact that you killed it is honestly very impressive. You're a very talented actress, and I do hope you continue this even further and further and further, and I'd love for you to be part of the bigger projects as well. Anyway, with that being said, that is scene 4. Let's talk about some of the, well, not talk about it, let's just show some of the quite funny bloopers.
You can credit him. He's a big actor.
Danny DeVito pillow.
I've got a big actor in this. You got Danny DeVito.
No, Jay, you could put in the
Credits.
in the credits Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito, Tom's sleeping partner.
You could advertise it.
Tom's sleeping partner. And then Danny DeVito's with me. Mwah, good
You
night.
know what? Interview time. How does it feel to have a bigger role? Camera in your face.
I'm like a dog when they get recorded.
The cameras not exist.
One night.
I know, but I'm haunted by what I did. I can't sleep at night. I look in the mirror and I can't. Oh, sorry. I lost. What?
You heard me. You made him feel like absolute shit. That he's replaceable, unlovable, never enough for you. All those things that you fixed. Ah, shit. That's
2, 1, go.
No, Tom, just shut up for a moment. You have no idea what I've been through.
Oh, is that it?
Been through.
What you've been through? Fuck!
1, go.
Yeah, I admit he wasn't the best boyfriend, but fuck! One more time. I want to,
Logan.
it's up to you.
What is your opinion?
I'll get slapped. I don't care.
This is video proof.
I'll
This
get
is video proof. I'm saying we've got alternatives here.
I don't. We'll do the alternatives, and if you want to do a slap one, we'll do a slap one.
That's only if you want to.
I'll get slapped.
I don't condone.
I'll get
I do not
slapped.
condone you just getting
I'll
slapped.
get slapped. I don't care.
I'm gonna feel so bad.
Does he know?
Sorry, I looked right at the camera.
It's
I'll do, bitch.
all right. You ready?
Sorry.
Clap, clap, pop, pow. All right. Action in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, I will. Wait, no, can we say again?
There we go. I really like those bloopers. But one thing I do want to quickly talk to you guys about is you're probably wondering what the hell is the shot for the first clip? That wasn't in the film, and that's because originally scene 4 was going to be following Tom throughout his day. We'd see him wake up, turn his phone off, go into the bathroom, comb his hair, and then start playing games, and then that's when the main part of scene 5 would start. But the reason why I cut it is because, one, I couldn't find any music or anything to make it kind of interesting. It felt quite slow, and I was like, it really breaks the pacing in a way that I don't really enjoy, and also it would have pushed the film over an hour long. And I don't know about you, but I just don't think Where You Are needed to be an hour long. So I decided to cut out the beginning parts of scene 3 and 4 just because they were quite long and made their respective scenes just a bit too long for what they are designed to be, if that makes any sense. Anyway, let's move on to a slightly, and by slightly I mean very much longer scene, scene 5, Inborn Instinct. Scene 5, Inborn Instinct. So let's just jump right into the story. We see Nick hunting down Cairo after him clearly getting quite angry at the end of scene 3. We follow him and he eventually starts to beat him up, and we already hear some kind of weird dialogue. After a fight choreography, Nick throws Cairo into the wall, and then that's where we start to get a little bit more of interesting dialogue, which then I think as you start to kind of see the scenes blend together and we have the whole Nick thing, and they start to transition into the second half of scene 5, you get a good idea of what's going on. And the fact is, this fight was completely in his head, which then you can start to realize that the dialogue that Cairo was delivering and the way he was acting was not how Cairo actually acts, which does contrast with scene 6. Anyway, get a bit ahead. So in that dialogue, we kind of hear things him saying like, I've been here since the beginning and she never loved you in the first place. These are direct manifestations of what Nick's insecurities are telling him. When he found out all this information about him being cheated on, immediately the thoughts came to him that he was not good enough and that this has been happening from the beginning. These are all his insecurities and his anxieties that he thinks Cairo is saying to him. And also, Cairo is wearing red. That is obviously to symbolize this idea of violence, blood, and to him, the devil. He views him as the evil within his life, which is further pushed by the song choice being The Demise, which is supposedly horror music, although I think it sounds more like action music, but anyway, I digress. This is where we lead into the second half of scene 5. Now, the second half of scene 5 is when Tommy brings Nick away from the scene, and we actually just dive deep on Nick's mental state, how he really does feel like he is starting to lose himself after all of this has happened to him, and that he is starting to almost go insane to an aspect. After we see scene 5, we kind of see this insight into what he thinks. His imagination is him beating up Cairo, and he starts to realize that he is a monster. He starts to think that these manifestations of his fears and the way that he wants to take out on Cairo, he starts to reflect that on himself and how he himself is a horrible person for thinking and wanting to do these things. and as a result makes him feel like he's losing himself. We dive deep on this mental state as Logan does some brilliant acting to kind of contrast, and we start to go deep on how Tommy really does care about Nick, yet there's not much that he can do. I think this is a brilliant time to actually talk about Logan and his portrayal of Tommy. Myself personally, I really enjoyed Tommy's character, and the person that really brought that alive was Logan. A lot of these things within scene 6 and 7 that we're going to talk about were actually his improv. He improvised a lot of these things because he started to get a grip on Tommy's character really well. And my god, Logan, you fucking well killed it. The way that you were able to be so funny with Tommy whilst also being so serious and emotional within scene 5 is really a true testament to one, how much you kind of aligned yourself with Tommy and how much you are just a brilliant actor. Everyone that has given me their feedback has told me how brilliant your portrayal was, and you need to be proud of yourself for that, because Tommy, whilst I wouldn't say he is as challenging as Yasmin, he is someone that has so many different sides to his character. He is not just doom and gloom. There is a lot of comedy with him, there's a lot of supportiveness coming out of him, whilst also getting sick and tired of the other characters in the film, and you were able to portray that really brilliantly, and I think that you should be very proud of yourself. And overall, this became a very, very powerful scene. I really, really, really enjoyed scene 5, simply because of its blend of using this idea of expressionism to portray the way that Nick's mental health is, and the way that we then start to explore that and how that's actually impacting him. And overall, I think the acting and stuff, and just overall, this scene came out really brilliantly. The only thing I just absolutely hate is all that wind in the second half of scene 5. It really sucks that it's all there, but there was no chance of us being able to reshoot it, so yeah. Anyway, that is enough talking about scene 5. How about I show you some of the bloopers? Go.
Well, I didn't hear her complaining. Action. Well, I didn't hear her complaining. I can't like that.
Shut the fuck up.
She's all mine now. Wait, sorry.
Shut the fuck up.
She's all mine now. I've been here since the beginning. She never loved. Ah, fuck.
So, shut the fuck
I
up.
forgot the line completely.
Don't do that, bro.
Go.
I've been.
Bro, I'm still recording.
Yeah. Right, well, right. I've been there since the first place.
Why are you laughing so much, bro? It's not even a funny line.
What's my accent? I've been there since the first place.
I've been here since the first place.
2, 1, go.
She never loved you.
I'm still recording. Go.
Right, she never loved you in the first place. Yeah, you want that. Nick.
I'm sorry. That's not
Oh my god. 3, 2, 1, go. I don't think I was like that.
What?
Go. What is wrong with me?
Hey, look, man, it's gonna be okay.
Just shut the fuck up for a moment.
What the fuck, bro?
I want a car.
Huh?
You know, car.
Yeah, go on if you want. But it's too cold for that
It's
shit.
been years since I had a car.
Now go on, click your feet, get up in the air and then click your feet. That wasn't bad. Yeah?
Bro, it's like a pace.
After this, like a pace. Start trying to memorize it now.
Okay, yeah.
What's happening?
Let me just show up Rocco real quick with the way I click the feet, ready?
Oh, you do like a little left to right. You do a left to right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like as in like before you jump, so you go like
Yeah.
you go left then right.
Yeah, I go
Oh shit.
bang, yeah.
You go like oh, wait, what the fuck you do? What the fuck you do? Do it again.
Enough of this.
I'm trying.
Now that she's gone, it doesn't feel like my life. Nothing feels right anymore.
Oh my fuck. Wait just for a moment. Come on, police. Fuck off. Spread the wall.
I just find it so funny how throughout this, you're going to notice if you look at the timestamps down below, that scene 3, scene 5, and maybe a few other scenes might have like really long blooper bits, and then there's some that only have a few. You could just tell there are some days where we were just having a lot of fun, and those, I love looking over all the blooper footage and stuff. It just shows how much of a good time we actually have making all this stuff, and I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. Anyway, I think it's about time. We've talked and showed a lot about scene 5, so I think let's move on to scene 6, Unreal Participant. Alright, scene 6, Unreal Participant. Now this is 2 completely new scenes to the script. Originally when I added in Cairo and made him more prominent, what I wanted to do was kind of have a moment where we actually understand who he is. From scene 5, you kind of think that he's a bit of an arsehole, and really that's how Nick sees him. So I wanted 2 scenes where we actually develop and talk about him specifically. So, let's start off with scene 6. Scene 6, we see Cairo buy some flowers and then approach Yasmin. They have a little duologue between where Yasmin finally tells him the truth about how she had been using him to cheat on Nick, and then there's this really nice kind of delivery between Mel and Rocco where firstly they had a nice little outburst, which was brilliant acting from Rocco, by the way. That was just a brilliant kind of warm-up that we did, and he genuinely scared both of us when we were filming that. And Yasmin basically breaks the news that he doesn't know if he loves him, and she still thinks she loves Nick, and that's another part of her character, that she doesn't know how she feels right now, and she's still navigating her way through this, not only her own insecurities but also the way that she actually feels about the situation, to finally commit herself to something. And then we start to follow Cairo through the rest of his day. We then have a moment where he actually goes to Tommy, and it has a little interaction with him and has some dialogue where he talks about wanting to make amends, where Tommy finally lets out and helps him out, even though initially has some really nice dialogue about how you can really tell that Tommy is just not giving 2 fucks anymore. He's starting to get really pissed off because people are constantly going to him, and this is where Logan's improv dialogue comes in. I really like those moments. It's a nice showcase of Tommy's character and how far he's developed. And sadly, the last time we actually get to hear Tommy, because he now disappears until scene 11 where we only see him visually. After this, Cairo decides it's about time that he talks to Nick. They set up a little meeting, and then that segues onto scene 7. I would love to talk about how Rocco played Cairo and stuff, but I'm going to leave that for scene 7, simply because, spoiler alert, I guess, scene 7 does not actually have any bloopers. There just wasn't enough. There's about 3 clips that are both 5 seconds long. There's not really any point in me adding them in. So what we're going to do instead is skip over scene 7's bloopers, but I'm going to have a little talk about Cairo and Rocco's portrayal within that segment as well, to hopefully beef it out a little bit. But other than that, that's everything to do with scene 6. Now, here are the bloopers. Alright, let's go for it. Action in 3, 2, 1, go.
So I just looked directly into
I thought I looked as if I could see what the fuck.
Think about the chips. Think about the chips. And I really want some chips right now.
Action in 3, 2, 1, go.
And now I've got you into this mess and...
Wait. What?
Alright everyone, real take. Action in 3, 2, 1, go.
And now I've got you into this mess and I really want some chips.
Wait. Boyfriend? And now I really want some chips. Sponsored by Peri Chicken!
Alright, action in 3, 2, 1, go.
Cairo, please, I didn't lie. I just...
You just what? Huh? That's better.
Let's go. Alright, action in 3, 2, 1, go.
Cairo, please, I didn't lie. I just...
You just what? Huh? Whether or not what you did counts as... Fuck.
No. Alright, we'll give it a go. Alright, so we start from Rocco. Action in 3, 2, 1, go.
I just want to make it right. I'm going to be completely silent. Can't do that.
Alright, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Alright, action in 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you, bro. Sorry if you get...
I think that will be my favourite blooper of all time. Peri Chicken has generally become like the #1 most quoted thing since he said that. It is such a brilliant... I love the hell out of that clip. It is so funny. It came to us so naturally. I don't know. I adore that clip. Anyway, I think it's about time we move on to scene 7, Amending the Sins. Alright, it's finally time for scene 7, which is the scene that I like to view as almost like the calm before the storm. The big, massive finale that is the dance scene. We have this kind of calm and interesting scene, which is... So, let's just jump right into the plot synopsis. Let's see. So we have Nick, who sets up some chairs, presumably for him and Tommy. And then that's when Cairo turns up, and actually Nick kind of wants to avoid him. He wants to stay away from him. He tries to leave, and then that's when Cairo just wants to have a talk with him. He tries to listen him out, and that's when we finally have this exchange of dialogue, where we realise that these two have both been through the same walks of life, and they've both been doing the same thing. Not only is this nice character development for Cairo, finally actually knowing why this has impacted him so badly, but also for Nick to finally have closure that he is not the only one, when this whole time he has almost felt like he is the only one, with a friend trying to push him in the right direction along the way. And one thing you would notice is a way that I decided to link them is through the idea of this of them finishing each other's sentences, that when Nick is talking about something, Cairo immediately jumps in and says something else as well. And one thing I also do want to quickly mention is actually Cairo's costume. He is blue. I completely forgot to mention that in scene 6. But the reason why Cairo is mostly blue is because ever since finding out that information, he holds this sense of regret as well. He also hates what he's done and regrets what he's done in the past. And that is when this scene continues. We start to actually get them to know each other as people, and then that's when Cairo says, "Don't lose Tommy," and then Nick tells him to talk to Yasmin. This sets Cairo up for scene 11, but overall we kind of get a nice idea of the characters, and then we move on to finally let go of Yasmin in the dance scene. Overall, there is not a lot to say, although there are two things I do want to say more production-wise, which is, one, this is when Amber started to take the lead in terms of camera. Throughout the film, you might have noticed that multiple different people were behind the cameras, like, for example, scene 1 was Imi, scene 2 was Logan, scene 3 was Charlotte, scene 3 was me, scene 5 was Logan and Rocco. They switched because, obviously, two different sides of scene 5, they took each other's on camera. And so, scene 6 was me. We got left on scene 7 where we didn't really know who to put on cams, and that's when Amber decided to take the plunge and became camerawoman for the rest of the film. And even though this is her first time doing cameras, she absolutely killed it. She actually started to learn the craft really well and started to come up with some really nice and brilliant ideas, and I can't wait. So Amber, you're probably watching this. Thank you so much for taking such a big responsibility, and you absolutely killed it despite having little to no knowledge, and now I can say that you are one of the most reliable camerawomen I could possibly ask for. Amber was also the lead camerawoman on the teaser trailer 2 as well, with that amazing dynamic camera going on. That was all her. She did a brilliant job. And the second person I want to talk about is Rocco. When casting Cairo, I kind of had the idea of wanting to put Rocco in the position because I really want to give him a character that has a lot more emotion going on. And one thing that's really difficult about playing Cairo is the fact that he is different depending on the scene. In scene 5, he is a completely different person to scene 6 and scene 7. So it makes it very hard as an actor to perform as this character when the character itself is jumping all over the place. It's hard to develop them and get your grips around them when you yourself don't even know what's going on with them. And even though, despite that challenge, Rocco managed to do a brilliant job of bringing this character to life. It is really hard to kind of make a character really hateable in his first appearance, while also making him so genuine and likable within scene 6 and 7. And I just think he did a really good job. There are moments where you're watching and you can really tell that he's deep in thought. And I think that's one of Rocco's strongest points, is being able to externalize his thoughts so well. There is something about his character that just felt so real and genuine. There's no sense of trying to put on a show. He just plays the character. And I really did enjoy that performance of him, and I'm really glad he really stepped it up in this film. Not that he did a bad job with Alistair. Alistair was brilliant, but this is so much harder. There's so much anger, there's frustration, there's regret, but there's also a calming aura to it. One thing I really want to establish to everyone on set when we were doing that whole shouting thing with Cairo is that Cairo isn't an abusive person. He would never lash out and beat someone up, so it was very important to channel that anger without making him seem like a violent person. And in my opinion, Rocco did a brilliant job. You did a brilliant, mate. It was just, there's no other words to put to it. You did a great job, and I can't wait to see what you do with future characters because I've got big plans for you. And yeah, overall, if all the actors are watching this, you guys absolutely killed it. That's one of the biggest takeaways for this film. This film is expressionism and actors at forefront, and you guys managed to carry this film and really interpret your characters in brilliant ways that I would have never seen coming, and I can't thank you guys enough. Now, sadly, there is no bloopers for scene 7. There was like 1 or 2 things of us missing up on our lines. It seems a bit pointless to make a whole blooper reel just on 2 little clips. So yeah, I think it's bad that we just move on to scene 8, Venomous Grip. Alright, time for Venomous Grip. I think the first thing I want to talk about straight away is how we even achieved this, because I feel like a lot of people have been asking me, like, how was that even possible, you know, like, what was the configuration? Because usually we rely on, like, right now, natural lighting, but that time we had to do literally everything manually. So here's how we made the scene. So, firstly, this is actually my drama studio that I go to my lessons with in university. What we did is I managed to book it out in the evening. We had 3 different filming days we had to reach over the course of 6 weeks. Yes, this scene was spread across 6 weeks of filming. One around within the actual time period, and then after, with reshoots, we had to come back and finish off this scene. So we booked out the drama studio, we turned off all the lights, put the curtains all the way around us so you can't see. That then means when the light is coming, all it sees is blackness. So when you get a certain amount backwards, all you see is darkness. Secondly, we then had, out of the 3 filming days, Imi filmed the first one and Amber did the second 2. And what we did is have someone on lighting who would have their phone out, and what would happen is, whilst me and Mel were choreographing different moments, I'll be like explaining kind of like the ideas and stuff that we're going for within this segment and the lyrics within the song. We would be making up choreography whilst Imi or Amber, depending on the day, would be spinning around us trying to find some different angles and capture what we're doing, whilst they're also telling the lighting person, who was a mix between Amber, Rocco and Paige, so she was then telling them, okay, move this way, if you stay this far away from me it looks like this, and then when we slowly move together, whilst also having someone on audio who would have to say we're out of the camera audio, and every single time we finished a scene I would tell them exactly where we'd cut it, where I would cut it in editing, and then they would have to perfectly match up the exact seconds to ensure that we're not missing any parts of the scene. And that varied between Amber, Izzy and Paige as well. And you would notice in a few of the behind the scenes things I'm about to show you that sometimes when we start you hear a massive bang. That was our cue of this clip now starts, because the last clip that we've just filmed ended there. And together we just did that bit by bit, did every single segment, tried to choreograph things, and eventually we got through the 3 minutes and 40 second scene. God, it got very complicated very quickly. But yeah, all in all, the way that we made this scene possible is 3 individual teams of people just kind of observing and watching each other whilst being within this space and also being booked out at night. Okay, let's actually break down the scene and its meaning now. Alright, let's start off with the plot synopsis. So, we start off with Nick kind of appearing in the abyss. We're going to interpret that this was within his mind. He then sees who he kind of views as Yasmin. It's this kind of imagination of her, and she is wearing a predominantly purple related outfit. This is because purple actually represents trapment. It's the idea of being trapped in one place, which is the exact reason why I didn't want Tommy to wear purple. Anyway, so they start to come together and we start to use different elements of frantic assembly and complicity, physical theatre styles mixed with expressionism to kind of communicate this relationship of the idea that they both want to come together, but there is this force keeping them apart. There's multiple moments where they're trying to attempt a connection, where you see kind of like the arm grazing the arm, and then they try and come together and they start to spin around a little bit. And then within the choruses and stuff, where you hear the different voices come in talking about how they wrap your arms around me and I am lost, now I'm found. It's this idea of them constantly bouncing back and forth. I like the idea that the song is a male and female, just like how Yaz and Nick are kind of coming together and unable to get along. And then this eventually culminates in multiple moments where they are trying to go for each other and there is this force keeping them apart. They are quite literally reaching for each other and they are being forced around. And then there are moments where they break the connection and come together, because this is almost like they're addicted to their relationship. They are desperately trying to hold on to what they originally had, and so they're constantly trying to grab at each other, spinning around, trying to dance with the past is the kind of exaggeration of what this is. And that's why the scene is called Venomous Grip. It's a grip that he has on the past that is slowly poisoning him, that he is unable to let go. After a while, we kind of build through all the different moments, it gets more and more intense, and then the final climax through that chorus 3 is all of the different elements put together, the pulling and pulling of each other, the pulling down and pulling up of each other, the spinning round and trying to grab each other as much as they physically can, because they are trying to hold on to what they don't have anymore. And this eventually culminates into Nick and Yasmin being there. There's this moment of tension where you don't really know what's going to happen, and then all of a sudden the music calms down, the camera starts to pan round, and Yasmin disappears. That is the end of Venomous Grip, by the way. When going through this and filming it and kind of structuring it, I always separate this, the bit with Nick on his own, as scene 9, and then scene 10 is the epilogue of all of it. So that's where this scene ends. So yeah, it is very complicated, but there's a lot of just different motions going on here, and I do think I struggle to kind of explain the scene because there's so many different things, and I'm not very good at explaining physical theatre. It's just kind of describing it on itself. So if you are confused on what I'm going on about, make sure to go watch the scene because it is one of my favourite scenes I ever created. It is so dynamic in the way that we made it, and honestly, everyone coming together to make sure this goddamn scene can happen honestly made it feel so much more real when we finally finished it. It is one of my favourite scenes I have ever created and will probably remain like that. It is a beautifully choreographed and well put together scene with all the team coming together to make it, and I'm so thankful for everyone to we were being very professional considering how this is only a 3-minute long scene, yet it took us 3 filming days that were both probably around about 4 or 5 hours. So it is incredible that we managed to get this thing together, and I am more than happy with the final product. So I don't think everything that I've said makes a justice for what what the scene actually represents. So just watch it and you'll really understand what the scene is all about. Anyway, we've got a few little bloopers, many of which Imi teaching me how to dance because I have no idea what I was doing. So yeah, here's the clips now.
Sorry, I'm blinded, everyone. Sup?
Hi, Alan. How are you?
Okay, Imi or Amber, whoever's on cams first.
Wee. Hi, guys. I'm recording, by the way.
You're recording? Already?
Yeah.
Damn, okay.
Yeah, bloopers.
So we need you a little
And
bit
the
more
fayers.
kind of in front.
Hold my phone, woman. Actually, you could hold it above your head. That'd be great.
I could work actually, yeah.
And just...
And then...
Come on, Jay.
Beautiful.
One man show.
Shall I do it?
I'm dizzy now, fuck.
Oh,
Wait for my spin.
ready.
She's actually pretty good at that.
Gorgeous.
I used to
There.
play 5-year-olds. I did.
Teaching it to me is basically
Stage coach
teaching
for
it
like
to a
3 months.
5-year-old.
Exactly.
did the same, but for like.
Did you?
Yes.
I taught that over
Okay, let's go.
Come on.
Okay, so...
Squat.
I completely lost my bearings. Like, where's the back of the stage and all the other
Okay, so...
Okay, so go from
Kick that
okay,
moment.
cool. That way. Right, ready. That's the wrong way. And then come back in. Hi, I'm really good, thanks. And then you kind of just start to get more chaotic and then like pick up the speed. Yeah. And then just go out and then let go and then fall back. Yeah. Then come back into it and wrap the legs. This is so fun. It is. Why did I stop doing this computer? And you just kind of like get chaotic with it.
Go.
Because yeah, I'm staying on track, but she's down, 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 down.
And
You
there's
see how
not...
we've ended up.
Go. Fuck. 2, 1, go. Oh fuck, I thought... 1, go. Oh! 3, 2, 1, go. One, go. We fucked it. Yep, honestly, I kind of deserve that. I've absolutely battered people throughout guts and bruises, so it's only fair that at some point in time I'm gonna go whack myself with that whole elbow in the face. It, to be fair, didn't hurt that much. I was fine. We managed to continue on the scene, but yeah,
I didn't think of all the scenes to cause injuries. I didn't think it would be the dance. But yeah, we're going to move on to scene 9, amalgamate the fractions. But one thing I will say about that scene real quick is there is no bloopers for that and scene 10, which is why I'm trying to put as many in this one and also scene 11, because the next two don't have any. Literally, they just don't have much going on for them. I mean, scene 10 we filmed all in one go, a 3-minute long clip to get the whole dance. So yeah, I'm not surprised that there isn't a lot to talk about. And for scene 9, I'm not that funny, so there's not going to be many bloopers and stuff. But anyway, scene 9. Alright, we are finally at scene 9. For me, this scene is the poster boy of Where You Are. When I originally made the Chapter 2 trailer, this was the thing that originally represented Where You Are in the eyes of the public. So yeah, let's just jump right into the synopsis. So we see Nick kind of wander around in the darkness, and that's when he sees himself. And what we are trying to do is this idea that he is finally interacting with himself. He's talking to Tommy about his feelings. He's talking about Cairo. He's angry at Yasmin, but not once has he ever thought about himself. And throughout the scenes, we are always connecting to this idea that he is lost within himself. He lost himself in Yasmin. And this is the externalization of him quite literally finding himself again. Eventually, we show that they are kind of synced up and they really are the same person. And eventually, he sits down and they just have a conversation. This is one of the slowest but kind of nicest scenes where I used a song called Nebula that is quite spatial, kind of very mysterious, and creates this really, really weird atmosphere that I really enjoy. And so they just talk to each other, very simple scene, and we start to see how he is slowly starting to figure things out, that he is finally wanting to figure himself out. He realizes that he just doesn't think he loves right, with him also fighting with himself that, well, that can't be true. And if it is true, that doesn't mean we have to live our life in doom and gloom. And eventually they come with the big realization that he wasn't in love with Yasmin, he was in love with the idea of her. Now, this is something that is quite real for me. I realized during my whole cheating on scenario thing that in the end, the thing that hurt the most was I didn't have the idea of her anymore. I liked the idea of having a girlfriend and having a relationship, when really, when it came down to it, I didn't miss her because I didn't truly love her. I didn't understand what that really was back then. I was only a kid. And so I really loved that kind of feeling, and I feel like a lot of people go through that without realizing it. And I thought that would be a really nice message to kind of wrap Where You Are in a nice little bow, that in the end he is finally realizing his real emotions and he has in a sense found himself. Then he talks to himself saying, you know, we should do this again, which is kind of this idea that we kind of had this idea that Nick himself is going to start connecting to himself more, that when he gets into another relationship, he's not going to lose himself again, and make sure to keep in contact with who he is deep down. And eventually they kind of come together, we fade to black, ready for scene 9, for scene 10. Yeah, and that's kind of it. There isn't a whole lot for this scene. It's quite short. It's just really the whole, it's the, if scene 7 is the calm before the storm, this is the calm after the storm. And yeah, that kind of leads into a nice moment where we're going to talk a little bit about scene 10, but yeah, there's not many bloopers and stuff like that. And the way that we constructed it was basically the exact same as the dance. Once we figured the dance out, we just managed to get all the stuff out for it. And yeah, that's it. Scene 9, the big poster boy for the film. Not much more to say. It kind of it says everything for itself. But yeah, I think it's about time we move on to scene 10. Finally time for scene 10, which is kind of the final moments of what's left of our story. So we basically, let's just jump right into it essentially. So we go right back to the dance, we jump right into it, and this time we have a song called Dynasty. I love the kind of vocals involved in this and the idea that they thought they built this fortress of love that eventually broke down. And what I wanted to do is the fact that this song feels so much like it's reflecting on a relationship. It felt like the perfect song to combine with the story that's going on here, which is this is the final dance with Yasmin. He is finally letting go for what he's been holding on to this entire time. And so firstly in scene 1 we see this idea that he's trying to jump back in. He really just wants to give it another go, when this is the moment where he is realizing it's about time I let go of the past. And throughout this, we basically, me, Mel and Amber and the lighting people, like literally everyone, all we did was simply put the song on and then we just did a full 3 minutes and 30 seconds worth of dancing around to the song to just improvise some moves, just to let them have a nice calm ending. There was no designed specific moments that we wanted for it. It was just simply a final calm dance that then integrated with all the memories from scene 1. We see a few glimpses into scene 3, and just this whole idea that he is letting go of the arguments, he's letting go of the anger he holds for her, he's letting go of the story he saw that he never should have, that he never wanted to see in the first place, and he's finally letting go of all of the good memories, and he's finally letting go of the bad ones, which later on he says that are just important. It's the first time you've ever seen a white fade within my films, because it felt like it was almost this idea of the memories are being lifted up and out of his head. And what you would notice throughout the editing is that when you're watching it and you see these memories and you see a white fade, those memories don't come back, because it's as if he's let them go now. And we run through all of the different memories, and they finally fade away, allowing the scene to finally come to a conclusion where in the end Nick pulls away and he finally lets go. He walks to the end, has a nice final look, and that's it. He walks away and he has finally let go. The pure externalization of his inner feelings of wanting to let go of what he has been holding on to for such a long time. I know it was quite brief, but to be fair, all of these scenes kind of come together. In fact, I have a good feeling that a lot of you, when coming into this behind the scenes, didn't realise that the dance is split into 3 parts. But yeah, that's kind of it. There is no more behind the scenes stuff for scene 10 either, because otherwise I'll be showing you scene 1 behind the scenes, and we did it all in one take. There was no outtakes or anything like that. So yeah, not much to say about blooper wise for scene 10, or just a really nice way of ending the film. And now let's talk about the final scene of the film, scene 11, different beat, where we finally take on what I like to call the film's epilogue. Alright, it is finally time for the final scene, scene 11, different beat. Let's jump right into the story. So here we have Nick a few weeks later. You can kind of analyze how many weeks you think that is, but then he runs into Yasmin, which is a direct contrast to one, how Yasmin is still somewhat stuck, not knowing how she feels about the whole thing, where we see Nick, who, well, most of the things that we've seen so far through the dance and stuff has been visual. You don't really know what he thinks, but here is where you finally hear it. He talks about finally letting go. He talks about how he forgives her, but how he forgives what she's done, and all these kind of different things, but overall he is planning on moving on, which, by the way, throughout this entire scene you'll notice everyone is wearing green. Green represents new beginnings. Nick finally has a different costume change. But one thing I would say is an improvement that I should have done is given Yasmin more of a chance to kind of move on as well. Throughout this scene, we kind of talk about how she's kind of stuck and Nick's moving on, and that's great to have that contrast. However, we never really had that moment to show that Yasmin moved on. Obviously, I'll talk a little bit about the epilogue part of the scene, but we don't really get a moment, and I think myself personally, I could have added that in to develop her more. But overall, we see Nick finally lets go. He pulls out his phone, and that's when he talks to Tommy, where we lead into the final part of the film, where him and Tommy finally decide to get rid of the photo frame scene within scene 1. A nice little improv moment from Logan there, doing the whole sideways hug. That's a really nice moment to finally say goodbye to these characters. And we see Cairo and Yasmin finally talk it through, and we imply a little bit of a getting together later on down the line. Yet again, I think I could have developed that more. And then finally, we have a little cameo from my girlfriend, who you've seen a little bit in the behind the scenes clips as well, as the final little moment to finish off the film once and for all. Since this is the final scene, I think it's also good to show the final set of bloopers. These are some fun things where we were just messing around, because we actually pushed scene 11 forward in production, I believe. Scene 11, for the bit that the main bit between me and Mel, was actually filmed, I think, before we even filmed scene 6. So yeah, scheduling kind of got a little bit messed up, and we decided to push scene 11 forward to make sure we didn't get massively behind. But yeah, here's some of the bloopers.
Do I have your consent film?
No. How dare you? How dare you think that you're allowed to record me?
Mel?
Hello.
Do I have your consent film?
You do.
Damn it. So what happens now?
Brilliant time. I can't wait for the premiere, and I can't wait for the red carpet, and I can't wait to see my face on a massive screen. It's going to be amazing.
Her name's going to be in big letters. She's the star.
Nick, do you have a map? I'm really fucking lost.
3, 2, 1, go.
Nick.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Nick, do you have a map?
Yeah, perfect.
Ready?
Alright. Actually, 3, 2, 1, go.
Nick, do you have a map? I'm really lost.
1, go. Jazz. There's nothing left to say. I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map!
Swiping, no swiping.
1, go.
But I want my life with you. You're the only one I care about. And
Jasmine,
Nick, wait! Oh, brother, I keep forgetting the fucking lines.
1, go.
But I want my life with you. You're the only one I care about. And Nick, wait! Oh, wait.
Overall, my explanation for the scene is quite brief, but the truth is, a lot of the writing I tried to put in here just is all about telling you what the characters are feeling, and so I just feel like there's no point in me restating what the scene already says. But then there moves on to the post-credit scene, which I've decided I'm not going to explain to you what they are, but just kind of tell you there is going to be multiple of these post-credit scenes, and that is it. I'm pretty sure I've covered everything. If there are further questions, you can always like DM me on social medias or put in the comments down below. But yeah, that is it. That's the way you are behind the scenes. And before I end this video, I do just want to quickly thank you all for supporting this film. Not gonna lie, when I was making and releasing this film, I was very nervous because at the end of the day, my last film, Cuts and Bruises, is still my personal favourite. I adore Cuts and Bruises, and it's so big and grand compared to what I've done before that it did make me somewhat nervous to make this film, because it is an intentional step backwards to kind of calm down and tell a more grounded story. And I was worried that maybe people might not like it. They might have expected a lot more for the next film, and the fact that this film has more than outgrown Cuts and Bruises by almost double shows how much that I think a lot of people do appreciate these kind of stories, and I'm really, really thankful for everyone supporting this film. This film has been a passion project from the beginning. It is so ambitious with its concepts and stuff, and I'm really glad that everyone is thoroughly enjoying the film, because I was really nervous, and all of that goes to all of you guys for watching it so much. Where You Are is very close to hitting 1,000 views, which is... I'm speechless. I don't know how to process that. Like, that is just, honestly, thank you for supporting these films so much. And I can assure you, stick around, because the chapter 2 story is only just beginning. And it's weird that I've had my first year in uni, I've showcased these first 2 films, but chapter 2 has so much more to offer. As of right now, the final 2 films are already started writing, so when their time comes, by this time next year, chapter 2 will be finished, and you will see the overarching story that chapter 2 is saying, and most importantly, the 2 massive films that I can't wait to show you, that I've been wanting to make for such a long time. Overall, thank you so much for supporting both Where You Are and Cuts and Bruises. It seriously means the absolute world to me. And thank you to all of the people who have been on cameras, lighting, actors, just all of you guys have put your all into these films. And I'm so excited for second year, because we are going to make some of the biggest films anyone has ever seen. And I am so happy. I'm just really happy that we finally get the opportunity to make these kind of things. And making these 2 films, one that's a lot more grounded and one that's massive, really shows that both of these styles work really well, and the next 2 films focus on blending them together to make the ultimate film kind of content for you guys that is just a really dynamic and a really big showcase of what we as actors, writers, directors, camera people are able to bring to the table. It's a really nice showcase of skill, and the fact that people are supporting them despite being really small independent films seriously means the world to me, and I can't thank you enough. That being said, I think it's about time I wrap up this video. It has gotten long enough as it is. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified every single time I upload. I make short films all the time. There's more releasing every few months and stuff, and I make behind the scenes to back them up as well, to talk about them. So yeah, and leave a comment down below. What did you think of Where You Are? What are you excited for? Are you annoyed that I've missed out a certain thing that you were actually wondering about? And yeah, overall, hope you did enjoy the video. Links down there are links to my Instagram and stuff. That's where all of these, so you might have noticed I was talking about teaser trailer 2, teaser trailer, and the original trailer as well. They don't actually premiere on YouTube, but they do premiere on Instagram. So if you want to see them as they come out, follow my Instagram and stuff, and I'll be constantly updating on when films are being developed and stuff like that. But I think that's it. Hope you did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.